Again, it actually started 2 years ago when the NCERT had revised syllabus of Standard 6 to Standard 12 of the CBSE. Over 21 textbooks were restructured. The NCERT had revised its books, including the 12th class history books, by removing the chapters on the Mughal Empire. And the removal of that is once again in controversy. The change will be applicable to all the schools that follow NCERT across the country. As per NCERT, all the changes made will be implemented from the current academic session of 23-24. The revision had started during the pandemic, as at that point of time, the NCERT believed that the students who had hardly gone to school needed a lesser syllabus to come back and learn. So therefore, there were omissions that were made. And now certain academics have come. Even at that point of time, they had raised the point, academics, political parties, saying that the omission have been sweeping and selective, primarily in areas of political science, in areas of sociology, in areas of history. From 6th to the 12th, there have been omissions that have been made where the Mughal era was concerned, huge omissions there. And secondly, omissions have been made where contemporary history of India is concerned. And those changes, as per them, were selective. Now, so why these changes? Well, the NCERT at that time had described it as rationalizing exercise. Several steps were taken by NCERT to facilitate easy learning during the COVID pandemic, like I pointed out. So what exactly was deleted is the question. Several pages on Delhi Sultanate chapter removed. Standard 7th is when, as per the CBSE textbooks, that the students were introduced to the Mughal Empire, the Delhi Sultanate. All of that was removed. On the other hand, Kings and Chronicles, another chapter, was also removed. The Mughal court deleted chapter on Muhammad Ghazni was also tweaked. So multiple omissions when it came down to Standard 7th, and then of course other chapters of Mughal history were deleted or tweaked going up to Standard 12th. But not just Mughal history, parts of contemporary history were also slashed. References to the 2002 Gujarat riots were slashed. 3 references to emergency, the Narmada Bachao Andolan, the Chipko movement, or even every mention of Naxalism has also been removed. 2 quotes of Jawaharlal Nehru and almost all references, like I pointed out, to Naxalism and other social movements completely removed, to the effect that from Standard 6 to Standard 12, students will not really read much about social movements other than one chapter in the 12th standard on socialism, and that would be a subject that you'd had to pick post the 10th. So all of that removed. What I did a short while ago, spoke to the director of the NCERT, and he took questions over the recent controversy again, which has been sparked all over again with these changes that have been made with certain sections of the society or academics or even political parties saying that these are selective in nature. Let's cut across right now to the big story that we are tracking very, very carefully right here in India today, that there is a charge by certain academics as well as political parties that there is an attempt to rewrite our textbooks when it comes down to the NCERT curriculum. Joining me for more and possibly to take all the questions pertaining to it, which has led to this massive controversy across, is Professor Dinesh Prasad Saklani. He's the director of NCERT. He joins us live. Appreciate you joining us, Professor, and taking all the questions that there be, because you know, there's a huge controversy right now that there is an attempt, it's a charge by academics, certain historians, of course, certain political parties. But let's keep the politics out of it, Professor. You know, when it comes down to grave charges that are laid by historians and certain academics, which seem to suggest sweeping selective changes that are taking place in our textbooks, especially from class 6th to class 12th. I believe, if I'm not wrong, and you can, correct me at any time, that 21 textbooks from standard 6 to 12, a lot of chapters have been taken out, expunged. Now, this whole exercise, Professor, I believe, was done primarily during COVID to reduce the syllabi, but it still continues.
Yeah, you are right. Now, go by your question. What is your question?
Sir, my first question is, the fact, can you hear me, sir? Sir, my first question comes from the same
yes,
fact.
I can hear you.
That if the cutting of chapters was done, like what the NCERT called it at that time, rationalizing the curriculum to put less strain on the students during COVID. Now, COVID is long gone. There's a charge that you're still cutting selective parts of the curriculum using COVID as an excuse.
No, this is false allegation. I don't go by this. Actually, what happened last year, last year the rationalization process was done in view of COVID, as you rightly pointed out, keeping in view that the students have to be, they have to be facilitated, they have to be assuaged during the COVID time. Whatever loss there was, that has to be compensated. So, in that process, last year the textbooks were rationalized, but what happened that the textbooks were already printed, which could not be in the market because of the schools were closed. When the textbooks last year were floated in the market, then there was a errata booklets for each and every changes in the books. It is not change in curriculum or syllabus. It was change in books only in order to reduce the content load.
But
which
Professor,
which
why are we still, why are we
also
still following it? Because we are no longer in COVID.
No, just a minute.
Normal classes have resumed. Yes, sir, please go ahead.
Let me complete. Let me complete. We are not cutting now. That has been done last year. So what has been done, why should we undone it for 1 year? Because next year we are unfolding the NEP 2020. New books has come for, they are about to come in the market very shortly as per NEP 2020. So next year, our NCF for school education is under preparation. It is in the process of finalization. As and when it is finalized, then our process for developing the curriculum and textbooks for the all classes as per the NEP 2020, that will be unfolded. So why should we go for this process again, complicated process again, for rationalizing again, which chapter has to be kept, which has to be reduced? The exercise was done last year, that is only for this year, and from next year onward, as I have mentioned, that we are working for NEP 2020. So this was done rationally, not selectively.
So you're saying it's not okay. So there's no point going back to what is cut is cut. Yeah. But now I'll come back to what is cut. 21 textbooks from class 6 to 12. Let's break it down, Professor. Maximum changes now, which say the academics, certain academics are calling sweeping and selective, have happened in the field of political science, sociology and history. Now coming down to the field of sociology, history, political science, when it comes down to the contentious chapters on Mughal history, medieval history being taken out, it's interesting if one looks at it. I'll give you an example. Class 7th, the entire chapter on the Delhi Sultanate, Mughal history, 2 extra chapters have been removed, 90%. What is India without medieval history, which, whether we like it, whether we don't like it, stems from the Mughal history?
Now, let me answer your question. As you have rightly pointed out, there are certain academicians, not all the academicians, first of all. Then whatever has been removed, that has been removed in a process professionally by the academicians only, historians only. NCERT just formulated the committees for that, so that the matter can be taken judiciously. And whatever the professional historians, or why talk to history only? Why not mathematics? Why not geography? Why not science?
Because I'll tell
why
you,
not
sir.
Other subjects?
No, I'll tell you why.
Why only Mughal history? Yeah,
so
just a minute.
Okay. Go ahead, sir. Make your point. I'll tell you, because you're saying why not maths, why not geography, why not English? Because if one looks at the rationalizing which you count, sir.
Yes.
Actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, 80% of rationalizing has taken place in 3 subjects: political science, sociology, history. And now I'll come back to the. I will go one by one, sir, and I'm glad you're here because you are trying to dispel myths. Right? I will come back to the chapters we are talking about. Mughal.
No, you.
Go ahead, sir.
No,
go ahead.
Just a minute. Listen carefully. The last year, whatever we have done, we have for 3 months clarified our stand through electronic media, print media. Everything is there in the public domain. and everything is in our NCERT website also. So if certain angle is being taken to review this, we cannot say anything about that. Why not other subjects be taken into account? And whatever is, as I told you that the academicians adopted an approach that if certain topic or chapter has been studied at certain class or certain level, then it should not be repeated. So in that process, the expert body found that yes, at certain point students are already aware of this, so but they should not be burdened again to go for that.
So for the, you know, to be fair,
so in that process, NCERT just followed that standard,
but Professor,
which was recommended by academicians.
To be fair, there is a lot of to be
yeah.
fair, there is a lot of rancor and there is a lot of disquiet about the academics that were picked to decide what will go or not. Now you're right, that is for them to take to court if they disagree with the content. But I'm going to ask you for someone who myself studied, say, Mughal history in class 7th. Class 7th, and again correct me if I'm wrong, is the first time you're actually a student is introduced to Mughal history, medieval Mughal history. There is a chapter of Delhi Sultanate on what we see are, you know, Mughal architects all across Delhi, which signify the Mughal Sultanate, the expansion of the Mughal Sultanate, on what medieval India was. Now, that entire chapter has been taken away. That entire Mughal, the history of Mughals has been taken away. 2 other supplementary chapters have been taken away. So a student who's graduating from 6th to 7th really would not know much about medieval history.
Then
go ahead, sir.
No, that is not correct. You just see, we have to make a balance in each history. Why we are dominating in only one section? Why not ancient India? Why not modern India? This was the expert opinion. This was not NCERT's opinion. So expert opinion was expert opinion. As per that, it was done. And last year, ample clarity has been done for that.
Professor,
and for the details, our website is there.
But Professor, balance, history is never balanced.
Yes.
You know, history there's to be a true account of history. If we try and balance medieval history, and I'm green behind the ears, I am
not talking.
Let me finish my question.
No, I am not talking of balancing the history. No, I am not talking of.
Let me finish
I am
my
not
question.
talking of balancing the history. I am talking of balancing the time. I am talking of balancing the approach and content in the history, not the history balancing the history.
Sir, approach and content.
Emphasis should not be on certain parts and.
So I'll give you an example. Give you an example. If India's medieval history has been 90% Mughal history, which it has been. Now, we might not like it, we might not accept it, but that's a fact. Now, how can we approach it otherwise and try and balance it out otherwise? For example, the current context is, many would suggest it's a domination by the BJP. When history is written between 2014 to 2024, it would be an abject domination of the BJP. We can't balance that, can we? No. Your question is not correct. NCERT has nothing to do with the political stand. NCERT go by the opinion of the experts. So whatever experts suggested, that has been done. It is not. Point. It is the totally false allegation. Fair point, sir. You have taken the advice of experts. However, the experts' body has also been contended with by certain sets. We don't. We are just giving the facts out. I'll come down to the. You've given your stance on the Mughal history. I will now like to move to contemporary history of independent India. Now, again, between 6th to 12th standards, sir.
But then my question, my question to you is that why are you taking about only one Mughal history? Why not other?
Sir, I'm not talking about Mughal history anymore.
Why are you repeating this question?
Sir, I'm not.
No. I have answered your question. This is ample. This is ample that experts, historians. If other historians, they might have different.
NCERT took the advice of experts. I want to just move on from now medieval history. I want to move on, sir. I want to move on to contemporary history of India, which is post-independence, 1947. What has been found and what has been contended, and correct me if I'm wrong, from class 6 to class 12th, sweeping deduction. There is no mention of any social movement or protest. There is no mention of Naxalism. Chipko movement, Narmada movement, all protests have been deleted. There is only one chapter which has been left in the 12th sociology chapter, and that is also one ops for sociology. So from 6th to 12th, the student will not study about protests, sir. Do you even, whether it's wrong, whether we agree with it, not agree with it, Naxalism has been part of our contemporary history. Movements like Chipko and Narmada were a part of our contemporary history. Why take that out?
That is okay. But then when it comes to the point of that reduction in the content load, again I will go by the same thing, that this was also a process as suggested by the experts, that this content has to be reduced, particularly for this particular period when the content load has to be reduced, keeping in view the emergency or the exigency due to COVID pandemic. So in that process it was done, and students studied that earlier also. So if 1 year or 2 years due to this specific situation, expert advise certain things, it is our, it is important to help the students, not to impose upon the burden that yes, every time you are loaded with this content. If it has been taken in a special cause, for a special cause, to help the students, why it is being blown out of proportion?
Sir, as a professor, I want to ask you.
It is not the normal procedure.
Sir, as a professor, I want to ask you.
It is for the pandemic. It is for the redressal of the pandemic problem. The step has been done, and the experts suggested yes, this can be done away with no problem for a while.
We are no longer in pandemic.
Yes. What are you asking?
Sir, we are no longer in pandemic.
No longer. Then I have told you that. No. Just listen then. We are in the process of implementing the NEP 2020. Last year we took this exercise. Now we are taking for this NEP 2020. So why for this 1 year so much hue and cry that we waste our so much time? Why we are preparing the new syllabus? As I already mentioned you, that foundational stage learning teaching material is out. Okay. We have to go for the new thing, the NEP 2020, that we are going to implement. We are working there for that. NCERT is working for that. So if that step was taken last year, now again we enter into the process of rationalization and bring things for a brief time, 1 year or 6 months. Hardly we have introduced for class first and second, our new textbook will come soon in the market as per the NEP 2020.
So I'll come
we
back.
are preparing the NCF for school education. Just listen, let me complete. NCF for school education is under preparation. It is in the process of finalization, and it will be finalized very soon. Then we will work for the textbooks and syllabus for the NEP 2020. So that's how we are engaged, and we are doing that. Implementation of NEP is important, which has been accepted by the whole nation and society without any controversy. So we are coming out
it hasn't been accepted. It's been contended. There are court cases right now which are going on in the same regard.
Yes.
So it's not that it's been accepted yet, because it has been contended. But I'll come back. I'll come back to two final questions, Professor. And thank you.
NEP has been, NEP has got wider acceptance.
So it has got accepted, but it has also been rejected by a few. That's the beauty of a democracy. But I'll come back to two final questions, sir.
By a few. If you say that 99 people are okay, but one person is not okay, then what to do?
So we don't know that if it's only one person, no?
You will reject the 99 people.
So we don't know that.
You will reject the 99.
So the sheer fact,
the 99 and
so how do we know it's only one? The sheer fact that you're sitting here, you're taking this question is because there's a controversy. If there is a controversy, that means there are certain people objecting to it.
You yourself are raising this issue that only a few people
Sir,
are
I wish I was raising it. These are questions which are there.
They were given the opportunity.
So I want to ask you two final questions. As a professor, because you're a professor yourself.
Yeah, then it is a democracy. It is a democracy. It is a democracy. It is a democracy. Everybody can speak. It is a democracy. Everybody can speak.
So let me ask you a question.
Everybody has right to speak their opinion.
Let me ask you a question. As a professor, someone who teaches children, and these are minds which are going to grow. Do you not think
this must be your last question? Okay, this must be your last question.
Actually, there are two.
This must be your last question.
Actually, there are two.
I'm not here for such a long time.
Sir, okay.
This must be your last question. Okay.
Okay, sir.
This must be your last question. I don't have time. I have other engagements also.
Sir, I want to say that from 7th to 12th, all protests in the country, be it Naxalism, Narmada movement, Chipko movement, every protest has been removed, which is post-independence contemporary history. Do you think it's right, sir, personally?
They are only you know, only textbook is not the source of knowing everything. There are other literatures also. They can know if they are interested.
So you're saying our students should look at anything outside textbooks?
What should be the no. In a particular textbook, how much content has to be taken, that the expert committee will decide, not the public will decide. Expert committees are made for that. They decide the syllabi, they decide the curriculum, and they do that on the basis of wider research. What should be the pedagogy, what should be the curriculum, that is the domain of the experts, not the public hearsay. Okay.
Sir, in terms of the riots that have taken place in contemporary India, all mentions of the Gujarat riots have been removed, but every other riot stays, is what the charge is. Is it true, sir, or incorrect?
I don't go by these questions. Okay. Whatever has been done, that is there on website. For detail, you can contact that. And people, if they say something, hearsay cannot be part of academic discourse. Only academicians decide what should be in the part of the textbook, what should be the part of curriculum. That is the domain of the experts, academicians, and not the public hearsay and not the TV debates.
So you're very right. It's the prerogative of academics, and I would reckon of the citizens as well. These were questions that were posed to you from both accounts, because even when the NEP is concerned, there are enough, there's enough legal recourse that has been taken on that account as well. There are enough petitions. But that aside, I appreciate you coming on board, joining us. You made it very clear that it is on the experts who recommended, and you have decided to go by what the experts recommend.
In the process of evolution, every sort of discourse take place, acceptance and everything. That is the part of democracy, and things move on. And we disagree to agree, and we agree to disagree.